Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Casey, and I'm here to talk to you today about Arbsession's new line of gear bags. First one is the ROPEtote. We also have the CLIMBtote and the GEARtote Plus. I saw these bags posted by Casey Selner and the Arbsession crew a few months ago. It must have been a while that these have been in development. They've got really good structure, really well thought out development in terms of how these bags should function, the durability, and basically just, looking cool. So to get started, let's talk about the ROPEtote. The ROPEtote is a pretty standard rope bag, right? It's definitely an improvement of Arbsession's first line of rope bags that were branded ABL rope bags. I have a couple that I bought for super cheap and I really like them, and I'll still continue to use those. But this is going to be kind of my daily rope bag, and I could probably hold more than 200 feet of rope in this thing. It's a 28-liter capacity. You can see it's standing up on its own, good construction. It's got a solid base to it in terms of durability. It feels like a nice solid bucket that's got good form around the edge, good stitching, and then obviously the cross hatching, which is pretty common on bags to give that more durability and support for the bottom. Pretty strong, thick handles. It's got a very nice cinch on the top where you can pull and it automatically locks. And it's stitched in, so that's not going to go anywhere on you. It's not going to have to slide up and down the rope. You basically just pull it away. So it's almost like an automatic release on that. So you have the daisy chain here for miscellaneous gear. If you're climbing and you're in a scenario where you need to send down a random carabiner or sling or just, some unused piece of gear, and you have, say, a groundie that's relatively new or someone who just doesn't know your gear setup or storage, it's a good place for them to just clip it onto the bag. Just having somebody just kind of toss it next to your bag, it's really easy to forget stuff that way. So just clip it onto the bag, walk away, you're all good. So that you have a comparison for size. This is from the Teufelberger Ambassador line, the mule gear bags. I've been using this to hold my 200-foot long X-static rope. And so that is here. As with most rope bags, they have an apron that will fold in and stay put there so that that's out of your way when you're putting the rope in. And obviously, like you're seeing, it stands up fine on its own, but it only gets, it obviously gets better as you put more rope in it. It stays nice and firm. All right. So I've got about 3/4 of that rope in here. So I'm going to bring the apron up, and it's big enough that it easily folds on the outside. So now I have a nice open bucket just to drop rope in. We are almost at the end. There we go. There is 200 feet of rope in there. I know that I could probably have put another 50 feet of rope in here, especially considering that you have the apron here that can kind of overlap the top. But I'd say 200 feet's very comfortable. And, if you had just a standard 150-foot rope, you could fit that in there with maybe a miscellaneous piece of gear or your helmet, and then you can fold that in on top and close it all up. So that is it. The ROPEtote is a fine rope bag. It's an affordable rope bag. Nice appearance, stands out, especially if you're thinking about being in a wooden area or a shady job site. This brighter color will stand out. I've also thought that it's kind of nice because if you just use a black Sharpie, you could easily write your name on the side of the bag. It'd be very easy to label these bags, almost like a whiteboard. That is just an easier way to label your gear than, adding a tag or something like that that can get caught in your work bins and lockers and stuff like that. The off-white color is definitely unique when you think about working and gear and things getting dirty. Obviously, the lighter colors are more at risk. You can have scuffing and things like that. For me, it's not a huge concern. I'm pretty gentle with my gear, and I take really good care of what I have. That being said, I already have a few scuffs on here just from general use and kind of moving them around the garage. The material itself will hold up very well, and I don't think that a few cosmetic scuffs is going to really change anyone's feeling about how these bags work or how they look. So that is it for the ROPEtote. So I'm going to be moving on to the CLIMBtote. This one is a 56-liter capacity. So it's a pretty good sized bag. I would say this bag would be really suitable for someone who has, you know, extra gear like rigging gear, or, you know, just like an extra set of climbing essentials. Let's say you don't have an overwhelming amount of gear like I do, then this is going to be perfectly suitable for like an everyday use. It's a little less costly than the GEARtote. For me, a bag to be successful has to be very functional, comfortable, and look cool. And so I think the looking cool factor is here. I really like the design of this bag. I think it's very functional, and I think it's also very comfortable. I put a little bit of gear in here before just to test out the weight and distribution on my shoulders and back, and I really like it. With the back, it's got good padding here. You're probably not going to take this bag on a super long track, but it's going to be super comfortable for everyday use. And, you know, say you have a job site that's just a little bit further than normal, you're going to be pretty comfortable carrying this thing. You know, it might get to be a lot of pressure on the shoulders if you have this overloaded, but I do think the wide straps and everything that is put into here, including the padding underneath, it's nice and perforated. So if you're sweating, it should breathe a little bit more, but I think it'll work well unless, like I said, it's just crazy overloaded with like heavy rigging gear or something like that. Another thing that I like about the backside is that you have easy off and on straps. So if you're worried about that stuff getting caught on your truck bins and stuff like that, you can just take these off. If you're not going to wear it as a backpack, these are really easy to put away. You just undo the girth hitch here at the bottom, store them somewhere else. And then if you want to put them back on, they're really easy to come on. There's basically a little sliding part of this clasp, and it stays right on. So very easy, very oversized, meaning that it's just easy to handle with like gloves and things on. Nice thick handle to grab from this side. And the front has the like ultra heavy duty like grip handle here. The next part is the side pockets, and they feature these hook kind of clasps that grab on. I've seen other bags that use like a hook and a second like locking hook, but I just feel like those get in the way, and I've never used the like ultra locking hooks. Basically the hook is going to pull out and slide open, and you've got a massive pocket here. So this would easily store your throw cube all folded up into a triangle. You could put, you know, extra rigging gear. You could put hand saws and things like that. If you've got one of those massive hand saws from Silky, this has the functionality to actually fold in for the top, and you can slide that in. And actually you can still even use this clasp to secure it, even with that top flap folded in. You just slide that in, and it'll hold things in place. I like how they did the side pockets with the functionality of having the flap covers. Especially if you're in a rainier climate, it's going to be a little more beneficial. Let's go into the front of the bag. I've mentioned this big heavy duty handle. I really like big fat handles for like handling gear and throwing it around, and super comfortable and ergonomic. The front features more of these clasps to cover the top hood, and then it has a smaller front pouch here that is zippered, and then it also has daisy chains for hooking up miscellaneous gear. So I'll show you the front pocket first. So what I love on this bag, it has big freaking zippers, like these big YKK zippers, and really nice zipper pulls on them that, you know, you can stick your finger in, or they're like extra thick so they're easier to grab with a gloved hand. When you bring them together, have a luggage lock connector, so you can actually lock this piece up if you wanted to. So if you had a small luggage padlock, that'd be perfect. And these just zip open super easy. And this zips kind of differently than you might expect. Sometimes they open here and here, and then it would flop down. But in this case, it kind of opens up like a book. I could actually see, you know, someday even kind of like writing stuff even in this white piece. So when I like slide it open, I have like my daily affirmations. I don't know, something to think about. You could just kind of wedge anything in here if it's got room and just close it up. But you do have daisy chain here, and then a heavy duty mesh pouch here. So basically anything that you need to grab quickly, I'd put here in the front and zip up, or just those little knickknacks like a ring or a quickie and things like that. Okay, so I've talked enough about the outside of this bag, so let's open it up. So you've got these hooking clasps again, so those easily just open up. All right, and the hood is really nice, heavy duty, good rain protection. You can fold it open, revealing basically just the open top bucket. You have a zippered pouch in here. Again, you can put like miscellaneous stuff or personals in here. Nice heavy duty, very thick. The bag is basically just one big open bucket style bag. The bag is big enough to store things like climbing spurs. So you can see here for a size comparison of my notch geckos. That being said, these fit in here, but you want to make sure you have some spur protection so you're not gaffing into your bag. This bag has kind of a similar protection or cover as the ROPEtote does. So you have that shroud that has the pull on it to zip it up like a drawstring does. You can actually use this hood as like a separator, so you have all your certain, mix of gear down here, and then you have this locked shut, and then you could put like a helmet on top, like so, and then throw that nice right over. Good construction here around the top. As you can see, it's very nice and rigid on its own. I have no gear inside, and yeah, I mean, it's basically like a classic gear bag with one nice little touch that I haven't talked to you about. So let's say you've got all your stuff piled in here. Maybe it's not very organized, but you kind of generally know where your gear is on this bag. So if you have already kind of packed things up and you have, oh, I needed to grab one carabiner or I needed to grab this or that out of it, it does have a side zipper. So you open the zipper up and you can get into the whole bag right here. I'll put my phone like in my little holder on my saddle, and I pack my saddle away, and all of a sudden I need to get my phone and I don't want to unpack all my crap. It's really nice to just reach in there and get the one thing out that you needed. I really like that feature. I think it's just like a subtle, easy, and convenient way to deal with that minor problem. It's not a huge issue, but it does save you time and some frustration. I am a huge fan of the CLIMBtote, and now we're going to be talking about the GEARtote Plus. This is the bag I was most excited about, and I know this is the bag that Arbsession is the most excited about. It's undergone a lot of field testing, a lot of use and design and thought and love has been put into this bag. What I really like about doing trio work is kind of the ritual of like getting to the job site, scoping it out, pulling gear off the truck, and then approaching a tree. You have your PPE ready to go, or maybe the helmet's still in here. You just pull the helmet out. In the top pouch here, that opens here in the back, you can even fit your helmet or just like your gloves, eye protection, things like that. Maybe your helmet's inside, so you open up the hood and the helmet's right inside. Then you have your throw line cubes here on the side. So you can open those up. That's the first thing you need basically on a job site is your eye protection, your helmet, and your throw line cubes. If you're a climber, that's the process, right? And what I had in my old Teufelberger bags, or even way back in my old duffel bag or my Buckingham rope bags, your throw line cube is just wedged somewhere in there, right? It's just in the mix. And often it's under stuff because you put that away or you just didn't need it anymore. So you kind of threw that into the bottom, and then you just, at the end of the day, threw all your crap over on top. This gives you a space to actually think through where you want stuff and organize it in a way that's easy to get open and use later. So let me show you this pocket because I really like that. Of course, if you're going to use this bag, you should definitely get an Arbsession throw line cube. Hold it down, put it together. All right. Throw line cube is ready to be put away. So you can see how smoothly that opens. And then you just follow the shape of that. Tuck in any loose ends and zip that up. So that's a purpose-built pocket that works exactly how you want it to work. And then when you're ready to use it again, open up and it's out and ready to go. The front has, like I've mentioned before, some daisy chains. It also has this kind of like, just kind of stiff front-facing pocket with a little strap and buckle. So that is a perfect open space for things like a handsaw. Let me grab one. Speaking of handsaws, I got to replace this blade, and you should use this Arbsession Zubat blade. Okay, so I was talking about where you can put this. So that's kind of what this flap was intended for, is you can just shove your handsaw in there. Because again, thinking about the process, right? You need your helmet, you need your gloves, you need your safety glasses, you need your throw line cubes, and you often also need your handsaw. And so having a really convenient exterior place to just have that and grab it, basically kind of like a samurai, especially like I've talked about already, like those real big ass handsaws, or even if you have like a pull saw blade, that works super nicely in that pocket. All right, so I think I'm done talking about just the exterior. Let's get a little bit underneath what's going on with the top and then inside the bag. So the top has that classic hood, and it's a big piece. And one thing that's super unique that I've never seen in another bag is that this is actually a removable piece. So you have a zipper here on the back, and that comes right off. I was on the horn with Casey Selner at Arbsession a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about functionality and use. Him and I both agreed that we're not the biggest fans of these top hoods. And when you take that top hood off, this actually looks a lot more similar to the CLIMBtote. And it's still a little bit bigger, but you can see a very similar look to them. So if you kind of like this flatter top look, I would definitely recommend taking that hood off. You certainly can. So this top hood has the daisy chain in here, so you can put miscellaneous carabiners and extra gear on top. It also has kind of a separator, and this has its own cinch that locks and shuts, right? So what would you use that for? Arbsession, Casey Selner had recommended was that this could be almost like a separate small tree rope bag. If you had like a between like a 30 and a 50-foot rope, this would be a sweet setup to put like your smaller rope in here, a climbing system, some miscellaneous things here that you can just keep here on the top of this, or keep it separated. But basically this is like a mini setup, and I can put things like my captain hook in here, just whatever I think would be useful for like crab apples and ornamental trees. And on the inside of here, you actually have a handle. So you can carry this around basically as a whole separate rope bag when you're just needing it for small trees. So if you don't need any of this extra gear, again, you've never even opened the top of this bag and you've already been able to grab your handsaw, grab your PPE, grab your throw line cube. And now if you're just approaching like a small ornamental tree, you just take that hood right off and you can get this and go, yep, I'm gonna go prune that crab apple. That's how I'm gonna use it. I bought a small courant bag that I was gonna use for that purpose. This is gonna replace that. So now I've got basically a multifunctional bag. So I'm just gonna set the hood aside, and yeah, we'll fill this stuff up with gear in a minute. On a traditional climbing gear bag, you have this top that can open up. You have multiple daisy chains here on the top, and it's just kind of like a big bucket, except for it's got some dividers in here. And when I lay it down like this, you can see why I compared this to a duffel bag, right? It's got basically like that kind of duffel bag form, especially if you took the backpack straps off. This would just basically just be a big ass duffel bag. And you can open this up and you've got daisy chains here, a small personals pouch here, and then a nice heavy duty mesh pouch for just little things like, you know, foot ascenders and straps and things like that you want to keep on the side. And then you have the big duffel part. And so for me, I've kind of imagined it like, you know, you could put a rope in here in the bottom, your saddle here in the middle, your helmet, and other things like lanyards and miscellaneous stuff here on the top. And these dividers are basically just set in here with Velcro. So they're nice, heavy-duty dividers made with the same material that the rest of the bag is made with. You know, you could use this as one big open space if you want to take the dividers out. For me, I'm going to keep them in and use them. So that's the biggest thing. You know, you basically have a nice structural form of this bag that's functional. So let me put a few things in here and we'll wrap up the video. So I'm just basically just going to throw a rope in here just for the heck of it. But I'm also going to kind of like wedge in like other soft goods in here. The middle, I'm going to go ahead and put my saddle in. This is my Petzl Sequoia saddle that I use mostly for recreational climbing. I'm gonna get that all pushed in here. I've got all my my lanyard and miscellaneous accessories still on to this saddle. I've got my captain hook here. I've got a friction saver and my chainsaw lanyard. I have many climbing devices. So, whoa, that's a lot of hardware. So that's all in there, and now I can basically fold that up. I still have a lot of room here, actually, so those are all tucked away nicely on the side. I can still put more stuff here on the top. So I'm gonna tuck that there. On these pockets, I'm gonna put some of my smaller things, foot ascender, stuff like that. I like having a few extra carabiners on hand, just in case, never hurts. So the last few things that I wanna get in here are a tourniquet with some Band-Aids and things like that. I've got my knee ascender, foot ascender, 4 SRT Chester, and then gloves and a foot loop for my knee ascender. This mesh pocket might be getting a little overstuffed, but that's okay. So let's zip this up, and this is full. I've got a lot of gear in here. It's going to be kind of heavy. I'm gonna set the bag upright, and I can definitely feel the weight of that. Go ahead and put the hood back on. It's really hard to do that for the camera, but I promise you it's easy when you're not trying to do it away from you. Just like that. Got the front clasps like so. I have a big boy handsaw. I also have a Silky Zubat. Now I'm gonna put my cubes. Let me put this on the side, because I have a little room to work with. Even though the bag is really full, it's got enough construction to not restrict your space for your throw line cube. Throw line cube sit on there. Moment of truth. Booyah. I've got the bag on. It's comfortable. It's heavy. I mean, I've got all my gear in here, so I don't want to go crazy far with this, but I can comfortably carry all my gear. I'm probably sounding a little strained because it is heavy, but I'm not finding myself feeling a lot of pressure here on my shoulders or my back. A lot of the weight is comfortably distributed. I'm probably mostly carrying it in my legs, which is where I want it to be, because when I'm walking, you should be carrying that extra weight through the hips, into the legs, not hurting your knees. You don't want to be too locked in. You want to have a comfortable stride and walk when you're carrying this much gear. I do kind of wish there was a front buckle here. I think that would be comfortable, but without it, I'm still gonna get where I need to go. So if you're wanting an all-in-one experience, definitely go for the GEARtote Plus. It's worth a little bit of extra money to hold everything that I just put in there. I even grabbed a couple things from a separate bag that I don't normally carry every day, and I still have plenty of room. It's not as neatly tucked away as my Notch Pro Access bag is, but I still really like how this works. I really just like how functional and how pretty this bag looks. And I'm gonna be proud when I scuff it up and use it a little bit more. So if you're looking for a bag that's not quite the price point as the GEARtote Plus, the CLIMBtote is still gonna be a really solid bag. Won't hold quite as much stuff, but it's gonna get you pretty much all the way there. And finally, the ROPEtote. Just a classic rope bag, but it works great. It's as functional as you need a rope bag to be, and it's nice. It's all nice. It's just really good stuff. I have enjoyed talking about these bags. I hope if you found this informative that you go out and support Arbsession. Check them out, arbsession.com. Check me out on my check me out. Thank you. Have a nice day.